Year, everybody. Welcome to the first episode of 2023. I hope you have been well. I know I took a bit of a break there, but I really wanted to prepare basically the content I'm going to present for you this year. There are some elements of the content that will definitely be different this year, and I wanted to start it off on a lighter note. And this month we are going to be talking about hobbies. Basically what you do for fun, what you do to relax, what you do to take a break from a very busy schedule. I know some of you like to travel, some of you like to visit places, visit people. I guess that's the same as traveling. Some of you like to learn a new skill, and one of the things I want to basically pitch to you is sewing as a hobby, and I hope you will enjoy this episode, and let's get to it. So, sewing as a hobby. So the truth is that the person who taught me some of my very first basic sewing skills was my mom, because my mom basically did sewing as a hobby. She did learn the skill when she was in school, but she never really sewed anything professionally for anybody. She just used to sew it as something she liked to do. One of the things she really loved to do was to do embroidery, and most of the time she would do embroidery for just things around the house. She just really liked to make things, and I think it really just made her relax, just because of the concentration that you need to do when you're sewing. And we're going to get into all that, the benefits of sewing as a hobby. So I hope, as I basically take you through what sewing as a hobby is like and all that, that you might consider doing sewing as a hobby. And I do have a special treat for you guys. I am seriously considering launching a box. I'm going to call it the treasure box. Basically a box that gives you that you can subscribe to every month to get something new you can make. It doesn't have to be every month, it can be every other month, but just projects. It doesn't have to be sewing projects, it can be any art or craft project you could do as a hobby, just for yourself, just so that you learn a new skill, just so that you do it with someone. It could even be your friends, it could be a mother and a daughter thing, a father and a son thing. But I just thought that it's a very great idea for bonding, and the reason I'm coming up with it is because I benefited from it from my mom, and it's something that I can easily pass on to my nieces and anyone, my friends, and I can share the skill with even you guys, different people. So I hope that you will find all this information insightful, and you will definitely consider sewing as a hobby. So let's begin. One of the first benefits of learning how to sew is so that you can be able to make at least some minor alterations. It really baffles me sometimes when I get clients who come specifically for very minor alterations, like sewing a button is it's a basic skill, I'm sorry. Even bringing in your outfit and loosening it and replacing a zip. I know some of them seem very daunting, but the truth is it's something you can actually learn and do for yourself. Yes, I know that there is a hassle of getting a sewing machine, but I personally would encourage people to buy sewing machines. It should be something you have in your house, the way you have a fridge, because it's going to be used. It's very beneficial. I think there's some basic things that you can learn how to do yourself that are generally essential, especially mending things and making alterations. Things like that should be a basic skill, because the truth is the more advanced we get, the more expensive it will get for you to get such things done. I would definitely advise you to know how to do it. If you live in Kenya, where some of those alterations and things like that are still affordable, then you're lucky. But I'm sure there are some places where you can't afford that, and I think it's a necessary skill. So that is number one benefit of knowing how to sew. The other useful reason is the environmental impact that sewing generally has. If you know how to sew, then you can easily get thrifted clothes and alter them, or even when you buy new clothes you can alter them. But the whole point is learn how to upcycle things so that you can use them longer instead of always buying new clothes. Because if you learn how to upcycle them, then you basically have an old outfit and you change it into something completely different, which actually does have some impact on the environment. So the other benefit is that you can change up your wardrobe without having to spend money on a whole new outfit. Benefit number 2. The third reason is that it nurtures creativity. There are very many people who generally ask the question of, do you really need to know how to sew to get into fashion? That, from a career perspective, is the reason they ask that question. I would say that people who know how to sew and are in the fashion industry tend to have more leeway to be more creative, because you understand how construction works, how to make a garment works. Either way, even if you are just sewing and you're doing your own sewing project, let's say you want to make kitchen gloves, or you want to make your curtains more interesting, you want to make pillows for your house, or you want to, any sewing project, anything that needs a needle, it will definitely just bring up more creativity in you. You will just want to create and make things. So it definitely nurtures creativity, and I'll definitely recommend sewing as a hobby because of that as well. The other benefit is that you will feel a great sense of accomplishment. There is just a rush you get when you see the final product of what you've made. I know I get very excited, especially when I make clothes, and it comes out exactly how I wanted it, and the way I was imagining it. It really makes my day, and it actually encourages me to even challenge myself to make something even more complex. So you definitely feel that sense of accomplishment no matter what you make, and the more you improve, even better. I can tell you another thing I feel like a sense of accomplishment is that my videography has improved so much since I started this channel, and sometimes I even notice and correct myself, and I know I'm going to get even better. So it's not just for sewing, it's for anything that you really put your heart and mind to do, and you see the result, and it's just a benefit of seeing your project come through. Yeah. So another thing also is that you don't have to rush to do the sewing projects, but definitely once you're done, you're very, very happy with yourself. The other benefit is that sewing really needs a lot of discipline. The more you practice, the better you get. And you definitely need to pay attention to what you're doing, because needles are involved. So whether it's a machine or your hand, you have to be very disciplined, and there is a benefit to that. So generally you have to be disciplined with your time, how long you do the project for, and you have to be disciplined with your technique, and you have to be disciplined with your process and everything. So discipline, becoming more and more self-disciplined, is definitely another benefit. There are some health benefits to sewing as well. It can help basically with your mood, it can help brighten you up, it can relieve stress, it can help you a lot with your hand-eye coordination, because I kid you not, you cannot really do sewing without paying attention unless you're like a professional sewist or just a professional. And also it can help your fingers become more nimble, because you're basically exercising your fingers. So these are not necessarily proven scientific methods, but there are people who have gotten the benefits of sewing because of that. Those are some of the benefits that they have mentioned. So definitely it's also another very good reason to learn how to sew. So those are the benefits of learning how to sew, or sewing as a hobby. And the truth is, the more you sew, the more your skill improves, the more your self-esteem also improves, because you're happy with doing something and it actually coming out well. So I would definitely encourage you to take it up as a hobby. Be patient with yourself as well. I know people think that it's a breeze, And I know that there's all this glam associated with fashion and sewing and everything, and it isn't. Trust me, I can give you some realities of sewing. Your thread will always be snapping. The first time I learned how to sew, I didn't really figure out how to control the machine, and I ended up sewing a whole sewing project by hand with the machine because yeah, I was just tired of threading my machine a zillion and one times, because you know, once the thread snaps, you have to thread the whole thing again, and if you thread it badly, the machine loops when you're sewing, and yeah, there is so many issues that can go wrong. You could end up even sewing the wrong side. Even now, with all the sewing skills I have, sometimes I sew the wrong side. Sometimes when you're very, very tired, you make very many unnecessary mistakes. So generally, just keep in mind that it is also a very big lesson in patience. But for me, it's really worth it, because once the project is done, you're just very, very happy. But just also be wary of just the things that could go wrong. It's not always smooth sailing, and it's just good to be aware of everything. And I know sometimes that some people let their frustrations get to them and they just completely stop sewing, but definitely keep at it. It's really, really worth it. So I hope you've learned something, and I guess I will see you next week with more about sewing as a hobby. Thank you for watching this till the end. Bye!